Alright guys, welcome back to Warlord Wednesdays. I apologize about the webcam. I still am having some webcam issues. So as long as you can hear my voice, that's all that matters. So today I'm going to talk about one of the neat aspects of Warlord, and that is the challenge system. All the Rec Entertainment Group was always an interesting game design company because they always had unique hooks in the story. Storyline tournaments was one. This is what they did for Warlord. So they had a three-tiered challenge system. At the local level, you had the Overlord challenge. This is an example of one of the Overlord decks that you could have played. Matter of fact, this is the very first Overlord deck that you could play against. Basically, at the end of the tournament, you would take whatever deck that you had during the tournament, and the first place player would play a designated enemy. Another player would play the Overlord deck. The idea was to win the game. If you won the game, then you got to keep the Overlord deck, which is really neat. These decks are usually 25 to 30 cards, not very large, but there was definitely an increase in power level. For example, this one, Kolat, is a level 8 fighter, mercenary monster. He has Astral, which they've gone away from the Astral trait. I think they call it Planar now. Basically, only half of your die rolls, I don't remember if it's odd or even, but one of all of that side fails, and the other side, as long as it's above the number, is a hit. So it makes them increasingly more difficult to hit. All abyssals in his army have magic resistance +0, so they all get an additional ability. And if he's your Warlord, normally you're restricted to 3 copies of any one card in your deck. This gives you can stack more abyssal cards in your deck, and you can start an additional rank 1 and level 1 and level 2 character in play, which you see here with the 4 Nightclaws and 3 Skin Crawlers. When one of them is discarded or destroyed, you get shuffled back into your deck. And then this has a nice little ability where you can attach a spell to him and he can cast it as if he were a wizard and if it was played from hand, which was just ridiculous. By the way, Jason Engel did the artwork for these groups. Many of you may know Jason from L5R. You might also know him from Magic. He's done a lot of Magic artwork in the recent years. So Nightclaws are tiny little guys, but again, they have Astral, or in this case now Planar, as they were errated to have. 1 armor class is not much, but then again, you're missing on like half of the numbers. Getting +1 for each other abyssal in this rank, so you've got 4 abyssals, so they're each +3, so this is a +4. All of these are +4, and then if you get any more in the front rank, they get bigger. And then you've got Skin Crawlers, which have 2 attacks, both +0, 5 armor. Again, this has Astral or Planar as it is now. You can spend in a Abyssal in the front rank to move the skin crawler forward a rank, and if you do, then it can immediately attack, which is also quite ridiculous. In any event, this is the sort of challenge that you got to play against. Now, there were challenger decks above that. Typically, these other two would be happening at larger events. So they also had Dragon Lords. Dragon Lords were typically done again at larger events, like maybe a regional event, a national championship, something of that nature. Originally, AEG employees would be the only ones that originally got to play it, and then they started giving this out to volunteers where they could also play it. The Dragon Lord runner got to design their own deck, which made it more difficult to play against as well. Now, instead of it going to the winner of the tournament, oh yeah, I guess I need to go back. I knew I was going to forget something. On Overlords, the player who finishes first in the tournament gets the first attempt to challenge. If they don't defeat the Overlord, the next person in standing order gets a chance to challenge the Overlord, and so on, until the Overlord deck is defeated. If nobody defeated it at that event, you'd bring it back for the next event. If somebody defeated it and that deck was given to a player, then there would be no more challenges at that event. To challenge a player with a Dragon Lord deck, you must bring your unsigned Overlord. And the reason it had to be unsigned was once it was signed, you could not use it to challenge a Dragon Lord. Now, I assume in this scenario, you would at least get to bring a more structured deck to try to play against it, rather than just having your regular tournament deck. So there's some unique advantages there, but they were higher level dragons. Dragon Lords, as it states, are dragons, so they're going to be higher level, potentially more hit points, armor harder, more attacks, etc. Lastly, and the largest and most powerful of the group, is the Medusan Lords. Now, the Medusan Lords are ridiculously difficult. Let's see if I can. Probably gonna have to zoom out quite a lot here. Oops. Let me see if I can find one while I'm talking about this. So the Medusan Lords were even more difficult than that. Again, it usually started with folks in the AG office were the ones with the deck, so they were usually only available for much larger tournaments like national championships, world championships, etc. The Medusan Lord also came with also came with a number of unique items that that started in play and attached to them at the beginning of the game. Let me get this fellow in a large Alright, this one's a little fuzzy. But this was the first Medusan Lord. Nosral Hate. He begins the game with Canis equipped. Again, I'd have to hunt for all the stuff in here. Once per turn, inflict a wound on or remove a wound from a Nothrog character. So if you were playing Nothrog against him, you're already in trouble. Spend order. Get a Nothrog character from your deck, put it in your hand. So, 17 hit points plus 15 for a skill check. 5 health, which I think was the base max on the high-end characters. 3 melees, plus 8, and a plus 6. I mean, it's just nutty. So they were notoriously difficult to defeat. Now, again, just like with the Overlord, when you defeated a Dragon Lord, you got a copy, and with the Dragon Lord, you had to fight the Medusan Lord. You had to turn in a Dragon Lord to sign. So that was your one shot. This was a very unique and engaging idea from AEG. Again, I liked their engaging and story aspect game designs that they have done throughout the year. So this was very, very cool. Kingswood Games has said that they are looking at doing this sort of challenge system again, but there's also a space that I hope to talk about in the next episode, where they're talking about doing situations what they call PvE, or player versus environment, and that's where you have multiple players attacking a single player, like a 3-on-1. These type of scenarios, I think originally you would have seen them in the World of Warcraft TCG with the raid decks, where you had one player play the raid boss, or the boss of the raid, and the other 3 players would be fighting to defeat him. Magic's done something similar with Arch Enemy, where it was a 3-on-1 and one player playing the bad guy. L5R toward the end did something similar with the Legacy of the Naga and the Siege of Darkness and the Clan War 3-on-1 style decks. And Flesh and Blood is also going to be doing something very similar with their multiplayer PvE sort of scenarios. So I think it's very cool that they're looking at doing this here, because it actually makes a little more sense, and also makes these guys a little more available to build something that's just unique and very powerful, but can scale based on the number of players that you have in the game, which I thought was cool. Alright guys, that's it for this episode. We'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, no matter the game, there is no escape from the tiger.